Cool.
So let's talk now about Love and Protest.
So Love and Protest was my attempt to once again continue the sort of the political conversation, but by doing it in English, because a lot of the songs on that record are in English, trying to also now reach the parts of the world that were Anglophone, or the parts of Africa that were Anglophone.
Trying to penetrate into new markets.
Also, I just felt I wanted to continue this conversation, you know. And then I'd read a quote from Che Guevara saying that while it's something, I paraphrase, it says, while it might seem, I can't remember what exactly it says, while it might seem like it doesn't make sense, the revolutionary is led by the greatest feelings of love, right? And so, for me, that was there, like, that's the title right there, Love and Protest, you know?
Nice.
It's because I had received a bit of flack. People, they're like, how can you be a patriot and criticize your country, right? And I was like, well, I mean, part of being a patriot, is saying to your country, we can do better in this particular area, you know? And so...
It's like undoing the bandage and saying, this thing is still sick, let's first treat it, then the bandage.
Exactly, you know? So we had started recording that album up in a studio in Nchi, a place called Beware. And so me and my band had been playing some of that material, and so they're like, hey, part of a good record is having a good band, right? And because the arrangements are kind of sorting themselves out. And so we went up to Nanyuki, started tracking, and then after we were kind of now taking to the next level, because when you record a record, very often you break it into phases, right? So the rhythm section, so drums, bass, keys, and guitar, right? You do what's called a basic session, record that stuff, right? And then you go into overdubs where you're doing extra vocals, you're doing lead vocals, background vocals, extra guitars, etc. But we had done the basics, and then the poor guy, his studio, the engineer, it crashed, right? And so, I mean, he called me up, so apologetic, right? And I was like, man, your studio crashed, there's nothing you can do about it. But he had made backups of there are things called stems. So you put drums and bass together, and then you put guitars and keyboards together. And so one of the limiting things about it was that if I'd wanted to sort of go in and do like a forensic sort of lining up of the drums or whatever, change some of the drum sounds and maybe have heavier samples or whatever, I couldn't do that because drums and bass zimeshikana, you know. But in the end, so I mean, I spent a lot more time on that record. Took it back into studio, did a couple of rewrites and re-recordings of some of the tunes, and even after it was released, I then took a bunch of songs like Selena, right? So Selena is funny. I was working with Jazz Odongo, right? And then he said to me, hey, there's this cat who's just come back from the UK, a friend of mine called Kagwe. I was like, I know Kagwe. In fact,
Kagwe Mungai.
Yeah. Me and Shiba had spent a night at their house when his mother used to work in Johannesburg, right? And Kagwe, I think he gave us his bed, right? And at that point, he was like a 9-year-old kid, right? And now this is the guy, I bumped into him at Brook House. He was in his last year. I knew him as a saxophonist, right?
What?
Yeah. Kagwe is a saxophonist,
right?
He comes to see me one time at our digs. He's like, I just want to sort of seek some advice as to sort of some industry insights. Then I'm talking to him as a saxophonist, and he sits there a whole 2 hours, right? Just okay. It's then later on I get to find out that he's this musician, killer beat maker and singer.
He actually produced Nishike Sauti Sol.
Exactly.
One of the big songs that he's done.
Exactly.
Amongst others.
I was like, Kagwe, man. Anyway, so Kagwe walks into the studio. I'm sitting there with Jazz. He's there like, let's turn Selena into a funk song. I'm like, ain't no way. It's never gonna work.
Can you show us the original?
Well, the original is it's sort of guitar based.
Okay.
So you need to hear the lines, but it plays like a banger thing. That idea, right? so beautiful, sitamruhusu akuchape. Nami silali, sipati usingizi, kula siwezi ukilia. Akikuchapa, nafaa kumwacha. Rembo Selena. Selena Nyamboku, you're so beautiful. Ulitoka kwenu bila alama. Huo si upendo, hiyo si heshima. Watu wazima huongea. Kama si hivyo, angeoa kondo. Selena mrembo. He's like, let's whatever. I'm like, that's never. You see the problem with you youth. You think everything is possible. That is not possible, right? He's like, okay, let me program something for you. So he programs a drum beat, right?
Yeah.
Like, he says, okay, now come, bring your old man self here. Start playing some chords, right? So he's like, the first thing you've got to do, right? Because the original is in major. So turn it into minor. Start there, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, you start thinking, let that be where you start. So he's like, okay, we vamp around, then finally ends up with this. That idea. You know, that's but it wouldn't have gotten there, right? If Cargo hadn't been there, like, hey, here's Treasure by Bruno Mars. Check this tune out. Then he played me another tune by some other guy. So like, okay, funk beat, now you do your thing. And I mean, it was absolutely shocking. Yeah. Absolutely shocking. And then so we then sent that demo to a producer in LA who ended up producing my fourth record, a guy called Will. And he replaced a lot of the samples that we had used, like with live musicians, etc., etc., etc. And we have the Selena that we have right now. So beautiful, sitamruhusu akuchape. Nami silali, sipati usingizi, kula siwezi ukilia. Selena Nyamboku, you're so beautiful. Selena Nyamboku. Selena Nyamboku, you're so beautiful. Ulitoka kwenu bila alama. Huo si upendo, hiyo si heshima. Watu wazima huongea. Kama si hivyo, angeoa kondo. Selena mrembo. Kama si hivyo, angeoa kondo. Selena mrembo. Selena Nyamboku, you're so beautiful. Takuwakilisha mbele ya wazee. Kama ni shuka, kama ni mbuzi, tawarudishia mara mbili. Selena Nyamboku, you're so beautiful. I want to marry you. Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, man. So,
but I love your collaboration with how you work. So for you, now you don't do everything in-house. At this time, by the way, is your studio, there's the elephant in the studio there.
Studio is there.
You see, you could have done everything there and mix, master, and everything, and release it out. But you've got this thing about you that you work. I'm hearing you sending stuff there, going to work at other studios and things like that. Why?
Because sometimes people want to work in their space. Also, getting away from your own space can also be very inspiring. You know, it's another door. It's another place to go. You know, but like with the whole thing with Will in LA, for instance, and this collaboration between Will, Kagwe, Jazz, and myself for Selena. Will, he got in touch with me on Facebook. Because I don't know if you remember me, but we were at Berklee together, right? I would like to work on a jam with you. I think he had heard a BBC interview or something, right? And that thing had kind of potted under the radar. She was like, that guy in LA is there, like, dude, let's do some work, right? And so when we sent Selena, it was just more of, it was like a Trizex, you know, just to see how this thing's gonna go.
Whoa, it was a Trizex.
It was a Trizex.
And now this is the guy who's done your
fourth
album, the current album, which
exactly,
you just released, which we're coming to.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna be okay. Another crazy
jam. Yeah.
Very catchy hook and then.
Thank you.
I actually left Barack Obama to come and watch you sing. Okay.
Meaning?
I didn't leave Barack Obama, but we were together at thingy.
Oh,
you performed
in Kisumu.
In Kogelo.
In Kogelo, yeah.
That's the first time I had you play songs of that album. And I stopped what I was doing to just come and watch, and I was like, this is a bit incredible, this new jams. But let's go back to this Love and Protest. Mariana.
Yes.
As I've called it.
Yes.
It's originally called Mariana.
It's called Mariana, but Mariana is not a bad name for it. So
you know, you've been doing Sawa Sawa 2020, so Mariana. For you don't do one syllable, one word.
So I was playing a gig in Switzerland once again,